Good morning. How are we doing this morning? Okay, you guys should know by now, I'm up here enough and I ask that question and I make you redo it every week. Can we just show some excitement? How are we doing? That's all, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you. Welcome, good to have you here. My name is Mitchell. I work with our high schoolers here. Couple quick announcements. First, we have a VBS coming up. For kids, obviously. This is for your little ones. Please sign them up. It's free. You can bring them. Dates are up there. It's going to be a great time, but we also need volunteers. We need a lot of you guys to help partner with us, with Vanessa. She's got a great plan. She's got some signups out there. There's signups on Church Center. If you're looking for a way to help and you don't know how you can, she can give you some ideas and she can plug you into the right area. But we'd love to have you join us for that. It should be a really, really good week. Last year was awesome. It was the first year we've done it, and I can just imagine it's just going to be even better this year. Also, for the kids, there's going to be a kids part in the Easter service coming up. And so we're going to have a rehearsal for that. It won't take very long. After service today, if you didn't get that message, it's after service today for ages 3 through 5th grade up in the overlook room. So if you can still pick your kids up and drop them off in that room, it won't take very long. You can either wait out there or wait down here until they're all done. But if you don't mind sticking around for a little bit with your kids, please do that. And if you don't, and it's just rough when the kids get up here, it's just cute and funny anyways. But the kids, we do have a kids element for the Easter service, and we'd love to have them run through that. Last thing, there's one more thing. I know there is, and it's right here, and it's on the tip of my tongue, and I can't think of it. Do we have a slide? Baptism. Woo! Can't believe I forgot about that one. We have a baptism coming up. It's on a Wednesday night. We've done this the last several years, so if you are interested in being baptized, it's during youth group, but it's open to all of you. We'd love to have you all come, but if any of you are looking to get baptized, or if you just have questions about baptism, you can come talk to one of us, somebody on staff today, or somebody who's serving, and we can have that conversation with you. But if you're interested in being baptized, that is coming up in May 7th, on a Wednesday night, during youth group. We'll set it up out there. It's going to be a lot of fun. But yeah, that's coming up. That's all we've got. That's all I've got to announce. If you guys can stand, try to find somebody you haven't met. See if you can find somebody you don't know. Introduce yourself, tell them your name, where you're from. Get to know somebody.
Well, we are so happy that you are here with us today. Please put your hands together and let's worship.
Mercy triumphs.
Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Nothing shall be impossible. Your kingdom reigns unstoppable. We'll shout your praise forevermore. Jesus, our God, unstoppable. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. Unstoppable God, let your glory go on and on. Impossible things in your name, they shall be done. I was buried beneath my shame. Who could carry that kind of weight? It was my tomb till I met you. I was breathing but not alive. All my failures I tried to hide. It was my tomb till I met you. You called my name and I ran out of that
I love you, Lord. Oh, your mercy never fails me. In all my days, I've been held in your hands. From the moment that I wake up until I lay my head, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. I love your voice. You have led me through the fire, and in darkest nights, you are close like no other. I've known you as a father, I've known you as a friend, and I have lived in the goodness of God, yeah. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh, all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I will sing of the goodness of God. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. With my life laid down, I surrender now. I give you everything. Your goodness is running after, it's running after me. All my life you have been faithful. All my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. I'm gonna sing, I'm gonna sing. And all my life you have been faithful. Oh, all my life you have been so, so good. With every breath that I am able, oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. Oh, I'm gonna sing of the goodness of God. Please bow your heads with me. God, you are such a good, good God. Thank you for being here with us today and bringing all these people here. Please be with them and open their minds and their hearts to today's message, and be with them in their travels on their way home today. Thank you. You may be seated.
Man, the band's doing great, aren't they? That was awesome. Welcome to Waypoint. My name is Blair. I do some of the teaching around here. If you're watching at home with us, thanks for joining us that way. If you're visiting today, I want to say I'm glad you're here. What we're hoping is that today you can hear something that will help you adjust your course toward Christ. That's kind of what our goal is around here. We find ourselves on a regular basis going to the scriptures and asking, what practical things can we do to either help us to be more like Christ or to draw us closer to Him in our lives? And so that's our goal today. If you're here, you're at the back end of a little mini-series we're doing. We started this series, this was the idea. We're going to have 3 different teachers, and we thought, well, we'll hold it together with this loose idea. And we said, you can teach about anything you want. You can go in any direction that you want. It just has to include some idea of how you were marked by something. And so kind of we went off in that direction, and Austin talked about how sometimes the marks in your life allow God to do something different in your life. And so it differentiates or helps you. Nick talked about sometimes a negative mark in your life is a moment for God to redeem something out of your life. But if you don't let Him, it might not end up redeemed. Today, I'm going in a completely different direction. I want to talk about a mark that I think you have in your life that is a positive thing. I think God put it there to get you excited and fired up. And it did that. And honestly, I've kind of concluded, I don't think I need to convince you of this. Most people I talk to already believe what I'm about to tell you. But here's what's odd. Although they believe it, they often believe that it's happening in somebody else's life, not theirs. This thing that God gave you, for you to be excited, for you to have some energy about, for you to have some hope in your life about, you believe that it's happening for somebody else, but not really for you. Now, I've talked to a lot of people, and I think the scriptures are clear, and that's why people believe this. I think you were created by God to complete different purposes in life. I think when you look at the text, it's overwhelming, and it's why people believe it. I'm going to do some reading real quick. I'm going to go through 4 verses through the scriptures. These are verses that you've heard that talk about this, and I'm going to leave a lot out. But I'm going to start in Proverbs. Proverbs 19:21 says, "Many are the plans in a person's heart, but is the Lord's purpose that prevails." Jeremiah 29:11, "For I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future." It's not all. Paul writes in Ephesians 2:10, "For we are God's handiwork, created in Christ Jesus to do good works, which God prepared in advance for us to do." This has been on his mind for a while. 1 Peter 4:10, "Each of you should use whatever gift you have received to serve others as faithful stewards of God's grace in its various forms." I just gave you a little tour through the scriptures, skipping a whole bunch along the way, but I hope this is clear. God has a plan to use your life in a unique way to impact the world. God has a plan to use your life in a unique way to impact the world, to make a difference. This is something that I've talked with people about, and they will go, yeah, I guess God does have a plan. I would say it's not just a plan, it's a plan with many purposes. God's going to do a whole bunch of things through your life in this world. And it's meant to kind of get you excited. I would say it this way. God has marked your life with purpose, intending to give you meaning in your life. It's supposed to wake you up in the morning and you're kind of fired up because you don't know exactly what God's going to do, but you know He has a plan. What's interesting about this is that you are going to be used to represent God in this world. You are, not somebody else. This is not for the giants of the faith. This is not Moses, David, Peter, Paul kind of thing. If you've decided to follow after Jesus, God has kingdom purposes that He intends to use your life to accomplish, period. That's true. And most people that I would talk to would agree that that is true. It's in the text. They've seen it. But most people would say, I don't identify any of those purposes being done in my life. I don't see it. I don't know when this would happen. And the reason they do that is they've looked at their life and they've determined that they can't see anything big going on. They can't identify anything that they would say is important. And because of that, they've concluded that whatever purposes God has, at least for them, they're currently on hold. This is going to happen sometime in my future. It's not going to happen today. I've rarely talked to a person who believes that the purposes of God are going to be accomplished in their life today, tomorrow, or this week. It's almost always sometime in the future. I want to give you a warning. It was in my daily devotions I was reading, and I came across this, and I was like, wow, this is timely. It was great. This is Luke 7:30. This is what's said about the Pharisees. But the Pharisees and the experts in the law rejected God's purposes for themselves. It goes on to say that John the Baptist was sent to baptize them, preparing them to eventually run into Jesus and to identify who Jesus was. And they rejected the baptism that John was doing. And so they rejected God. You want to know the takeaway? God has purposes for your life, and you can reject them. You could reject them like the Pharisees do. The Pharisees said, no, we're not going to follow after what God wants for us. We're going to kind of fulfill our own desires, do our own thing. And you can put the purposes of God on hold in your life by just saying, I'm not going to follow Him. Some of you are doing that right now. Like God has been knocking on your door saying, hey, I want you to be a follower of mine. I want you to come after me. I want you to model your life after my values. And you've said, no. I don't want to go down that path. I want to do my own thing. I want to care about the stuff I want to care about. I don't care if it hurts others or not. I'm going to do what I want to do. And you reject all those potential purposes of God in your life. But many of you, you're followers of Jesus. You've made the decision that I'm going to follow after Him. And what's odd is you're making a subtle decision. A subtle decision in your life that ends up causing you to reject the purposes of God. And that's what I want to, I know there's probably a lot of different things that you could do, but I want to talk about the one big one that I hear from followers of Jesus on a regular basis. And it goes back to this thing that I was talking about before. You look at your life, you don't identify anything big happening. You assume there's not some major impact coming out of your life right now. And if there was, you should be able to measure it. But you look around, there's no fame, there's no fortune, there's no viral anything. There's nothing going on that causes you to think there's something important happening through my life right now. And so you conclude God's not active in my life. Whether he's forgotten about me or doesn't care or whatever the reason is, I don't have a sense of purpose. And the conclusion has been simple for a lot of people. If there's nothing big happening, there is no purpose. I hear this from Christians all the time. I'm changing diapers. There's no purpose in this. Are you kidding? I'm going to a job that I find little to no fulfillment in. There's no way there's purpose in that. I'm taking a class that they forced me to take. I don't want to take it, but in order to graduate, I have to take this dumb class, and I don't see a point in it. There can be no purpose for what I'm doing with my life right now. I'm having to listen to my parents who have all of these rules that I have to follow, and it's driving me nuts. There can't be purpose. I can't be fulfilling my purpose. I can't even live the life I want to live, goes the thinking. I heard people say, man, I am barely keeping my head above water. Stuff is coming at me so fast, I don't know if I can survive this. And I'm just trying to get my head above water day by day. There can be no purpose in this. I'm in survival mode. Talk to others. And maybe it's not diapers, but it's laundry and dishes and mowing the lawn, and like these things have to be done, and you look around and you're like, man, I'm doing the stuff that I have to do, but there's no purpose in it. And whatever God had in mind for my life, I feel like I'm missing out. I want you to be careful, because you're right at the edge of believing some things that could cause you to miss out on the purposes that God has for you. God has purposes for your life to accomplish some pretty important things. You just don't know them yet. And so what I want to do, I want to give you 3 truths that I think if you understood how God thought about purpose and you started to align yourself with those, maybe adjusting your course would change how you thought about what's happening in your life right now. So I want to give you those 3 things. They're going to be real fast. And then I want to tell a story that illustrates how this stuff all works together. Okay? So I'm going to start with number 1. Number 1, God is actively trying to guide you. God is actively trying to guide you. That is today, tomorrow, this week, right now. Listen, this is out of Psalm 32:8. I will instruct you and teach you in the way you should go. I will counsel you with my loving eye on you. Normally when you say, I've got my eye on you, that feels a little threatening. But do you hear the tone of that? I have my loving eye on you. I'm trying to instruct. I'm trying to counsel. This is why you have to be on alert today. It's why we talk to you about developing a connection with God, finding a way to have some disciplines where you're reading the scriptures, where you're praying, where you're engaged in silence. Why? Because God's trying to communicate with you. He has plans for your life. He's attempting to guide you. And he's doing that right now. This is not a future thing. This is today. He has his loving eye on you, attempting to guide you. All right? Number 2, the size of the impact is God's concern. Yours is faithfulness. Size of the impact is God's concern. Yours is faithfulness. I want to read a very popular verse. I want you to think about what it actually says. It almost seems silly. This is 1 Corinthians 10:31. So whether you eat or drink or whatever you do, do it all for the glory of God. If I go to get a drink of water, I'm doing that for the glory of God. If I'm sitting down at a meal, kind of just rejuvenating, I'm doing that for the glory of God. I mean, why is he using these kind of examples? Here's the thing. You don't know what is or isn't important or when it will be important. You don't have any idea. We know that a plan exists, but you don't know the details of the plan. So God decides to cover it this way. Why don't you be faithful in everything? And as you're being faithful in everything, if I can use that moment for a purpose of my kingdom, I will and I can, because you're being faithful. But if you won't be faithful in the smallest of things, I can't use that moment. This is a crazy thought. I believe it to be true, though. There will be times when you do something that accomplishes the purpose of God and you had no idea that that happened. And you'll only find out when you reach heaven and somebody comes up to you and said, what you did helped change my life. You won't have any idea. Because God will have taken this moment that meant nothing to you and you were just being faithful in it, and he used it in a way that you couldn't possibly imagine. Stop worrying about the size and worry about whether you can be faithful or not. Number 3, this is the least popular one. Sometimes purpose is found in the mundane. It's found in the mundane. Nobody wants to hear that. But here's the thing. If your faithfulness in the mundane could result in impact, that could happen, right? But there's also something else God could be doing in the mundane that he uses it for that's consistently seen in the scriptures. Sometimes it's impact, and sometimes it's to develop you. It's to develop you. If you want a prime example out of the scriptures, let me take you to the life of David. David is a shepherd. God says, this dude is going to be king. That king, that's a purpose, right? That's fame. That's fortune. You're going to go viral with that, right? You're going to be pretty popular if you're king of Israel. And he's ordained king of Israel. He's anointed to become that. How long did it take before David sat on the throne as king? Does anybody know? 15 years. 15 years. Are those wasted years? Was that him just not fulfilling the purpose that he was designed for, destined for? Or did God have him running and hiding in the desert, hanging out with foreign kings, leading a band of brawlers? Because over the course of those 15 years, God had to develop certain things inside of David's heart so that when he became king, he wouldn't be terrible. See, you don't know what God is doing. Sometimes in the mundane moment, God is developing a skill that you need, an attitude. He might just be developing a sensitive spirit to the heart of God. I'm asking for your obedience in this moment. And instead of looking at all of those things as a waste of time, you start seeing the mundane as this place where God does some work, even if I don't understand it. So that when you're changing the diaper, you realize I could be developing a skill right now I don't understand. When you go to that job that is just killing you, you could be developing a sense of resilience, of determination to honor God no matter what the circumstance. When you're in that class that doesn't matter, you could be learning determination. When you're obeying your parents because that's what God asked you to do, you're developing skills and habits. You're gaining wisdom all along the path. The mundane becomes a place where God develops you. I have found that it is dangerous, my friends, to determine the impact of something based on the size of it because I don't understand God's plan. I just want to be a faithful player in it. I came to this realization years ago. Some of you know this, some of you will not. I was raised on a Christian youth camp. My family moved to that camp when I was 3 years old, and I was heavily involved in that camp for 18 years. I left at age 21. I haven't been involved in camping since. Have nothing to do with it. Or horses, and I'm not sad, right? Okay? So people ask me, wasn't that a waste? And I was thinking about it one day because I was considering some of the marks that had been left in my life from that camp experience. Some of them weren't great. And in the process of processing that, God spoke into my heart and said, Blair, I had marked you for purpose all the way back then. You just didn't understand. Let me explain. Because I started putting this together and I realized that almost every skill I use in my life right now got its start at that camp. At age 9, I started working half days. I would go out at 5:30 in the morning, help bring the horses in. You would have to take care of them. You would saddle them. You would go eat breakfast, come back, finish some chores, and then you would take kids on trail rides all day. At age 9 to 11, I only worked half days. So at lunch, I was done. I would then go swimming and then crush people at tetherball. That's all I did with my life. And ask Mitchell, I crushed him at tetherball. Okay, let's not get down that path. All right. At age 12, I started working full-time. I would get up at 5:30. I would do that all day until we put all the horses and put them out to pasture at night, and then we had chores to do, and if we had hay, you worked later. I was working 12 to 14-hour days as a 12, 13, and 14-year-old. I started learning how to work at that camp. At age 12 through 16, I was put in this meat grinder called CHA. They've changed their name since then. It was called Camp Horsemanship Association back then. And the whole purpose of that was to train people in horsemanship skills. So for a whole week, you would be assigned to a group. They would give you 5 topics, and you would have to teach them how to bridle a horse, how to saddle a horse, how to ride a horse this way, all of that sort of thing. And you would do this in front of this group, and then they would tell you what you did well and tell you what you had to do to improve things. But here, it gets better. This was my favorite part. You had to inform the group what age you were teaching so that the people in the group would act that age. I was really good at that. I fell off horses on purpose just to see how they would handle it. Like I was the living incarnate of Dennis the Menace in CHA. Like they had no idea what was coming. But what my dumb young mind couldn't figure out is that if you dish it out, it will come back to you. And every one of my sessions was complete chaos because that's what I had been doing in every one of their sessions. And after 4 years, I learned some things. I learned how to hold the attention of people who didn't want to have their attention held. I learned how to position them a certain way. I learned how to deal with distractions. I learned all kinds of stuff. Can I tell you, when I started learning how to teach the scriptures, I had a lot to learn. But what I didn't understand was that God had given me a base of things that I didn't have to go back and learn because God had started training me to be a teacher at that camp. At age 15, I'd been a wrangler for quite a few years, and they made me head wrangler. I'm still in high school. Everybody who was a wrangler above me was older than me and hated the fact that I was in charge. It was fun, right? It was a challenge, but I knew what to do. I knew how to do it. I'd been doing it for so long. And I know I'm just taking care of horses, right? We're just taking care of horses. It's no big deal. But I started to learn to lead at that camp. At age 16, they made me a counselor. I started doing that full time at age 17, but I got a little bit of taste of that early in my life. Band, if you would make your way forward, that'd be great. And I started learning how to care for people, have important conversations about faith with people. But another thing that happened as a counselor, this was interesting. Every week at the camp on Friday night, your bunkhouse had to go out and perform a song and cheer that was about your bunkhouse in front of everybody. My bunkhouse crushed it. I ripped off commercials. We spoofed songs. We had dance moves. We were like, it was crazy. Every week we were doing something that would challenge other bunkhouses. It was a ton of fun. I thought I was just having a good time. Can I tell you that one of my spiritual gifts is creativity, and what I did not understand was that God began training that at that camp. I could go on and on. Every skill I had happened in these mundane places that didn't seem to matter in a town that nobody has ever heard of. How many? Spring Creek, Pennsylvania. How many? Shout out. Yeah, of course not. We had 2 stop signs. I mean, we didn't have a 4-way stop. We're not snooty. We're 2, like just 2. That was as big as the town was. And you could look at that and you could think, there's nothing important going on here. The truth is, I have no idea if I made an impact during that time. But here's what I do know. I was really trying to be faithful to God at that time in my life. I was trying to listen. I was trying to honor Him. And what I didn't understand is that God was preparing me for my future. By the way, I still think God works that way. I found it ironic. I realized I was at this camp 18 years. I've almost been at Waypoint for 18 years. And I'm about to open up another chapter in my life. And if you think that means I think God is now done with me because this part might be done, that is not what I believe at all. I think it's possible that God has been preparing me for what's next. In fact, here's what I believe about you. You have purposes of God to accomplish in your life, and you will until you're in the ground. Moses was tapped to do something incredible at age 80. Stop putting on your expectations for what this will look like. God has a plan. He wants to do something with your life. It could be incredible if you're willing to be guided by Him. He could accomplish some incredible things if you're willing to be faithful. If you could accept that the mundane is not a waste of your time, but is an opportunity for you to practice your faithfulness and listen to God's leading in your life. He will accomplish things that you cannot possibly imagine. Now, I just want to say this real quick. If you're here this morning and you haven't made a decision to follow Jesus, you will miss out on every purpose that God has planned for you. And maybe today's the day where you realize, I could do this my way. I could just keep going, make myself seemingly happy. Can I tell you? Just look at the surveys. Go look at the surveys that are out there with the number of people who are happy. The ones who are the happiest are those who are following after God. It's year after year after year, it's consistent. And the ones who choose to go away from God and do their own thing are the least satisfied. Why? Because you're not living for anything bigger than yourself. And if this morning you want to tap into purposes that are bigger than that, bigger than you, all you need to do is just look at God. Just in your heart, just say, listen, I've been wanting to do this my way. I'll do it yours. I'll choose you. I'm in. Will you open up the purposes that you have for me and allow me to become a partner in this thing that you're doing? And he'll honor that. He'll offer you forgiveness for the direction that you've been going and give you a different direction to go. Follower of Jesus, you have an opportunity to accomplish the plans of God in your life. If you'll listen to his guiding, if you'll be faithful, and if you'll stop writing off the mundane, it's your choice. I want to pray for you. God, we're so grateful that you would honor us with purpose. You've marked us with that from the beginning. You've had these plans for us to do good works in advance. These are things that you've been thinking about for a long time. But so many times we have looked at our lives and we've just concluded there's nothing big going on. There can't be any purpose. This is something that's happening for somebody else. It's something that's happening for somebody else that I'm watching on Instagram or I'm watching their story. But it's not me. God, I ask that you would just deal with the truth in people's hearts right now. You have a purpose for them. It's not over. If they would be faithful, they could tap into it. God, get them excited. Give them hope that these mundane things are a path to honoring you even when we don't fully understand it. God, you're a good God, and you've invited us into an exciting life. May we jump on board with you and enjoy. In Jesus' name, amen.
Please stand with us.
Water you turned into wine. Open the eyes of the blind. There's no one like you. None like you. Into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer. Awesome in power. Our God. Our God.
into the darkness you shine. Out of the ashes we rise. There's no one like you. None like you. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. Our God is greater. Our God is stronger. God, you are higher than any other. Our God is healer, awesome in power. Our God, our God. And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand against? And if our God is for us, then who could ever stop us? And if our God is with us, then what could stand
Okay, I feel like I need to address this because Blair threw me under the bus about tetherball. So for the first few years that I was here, Blair made several, and I mean lots of comments about how he is not good at tetherball, he is great at tetherball. And I did not believe that even a little bit. There's no way. He's an old man. I was like, come on. There's no way you're that good at tetherball. So I tried. I tried to challenge him, tried to get him to play against me. And then it happened. We were at the Blyleys, and they had a tetherball thing set up. I was like, all right, Blair, here it is. It's time for you to shut up. Blair beat me using his elbows. I'm not kidding. And not only did he smoked me using, he did not touch the ball with his hand. He used his elbows the whole time. So Blair is not good at tetherball. He is great at tetherball. God was prepping him at that camp for tetherball just for that moment. I'm gonna hold to that. I think this whole time that Blair was talking about this, I can relate to this so much. That God does prep you in ways that you can't see, ways that you can't understand. And I also think, like looking at my life, I think I felt like I was called into ministry young. Like I felt like I was supposed to work at a church. I was supposed to be doing youth ministry. I felt that like before high school, felt that call. And just was like, no, I don't think so. And for about 5 years, I decided, no, that's not for me. I'm not gonna do that. I'll be a teacher, I'll be an engineer. Like I had other ideas and that's what I was pursuing. So once I decided that, went through college, started looking for a youth pastor job. Guess how long it took me to find a youth pastor job? 5 years. 5 years because it took me, I still believe, I believe God made me wait 5 years because I made him wait 5 years. And not like a vindictive thing, but like I needed those 5 years to get ready. And I didn't take it. I didn't take advantage of that. And so I think he needed me to take those 5 years to learn some things so that I would be ready for that calling, ready for that job. I think there's a lot of things in life that I can look back on and think, man, that didn't make any sense to me. I don't know why I went through that. I don't know why I had to learn that lesson that way. But I can look back on those things now and see, wow, yeah, I understand. Some I still don't. And so I think there's still more to come. But I think that is how God works. He preps you in ways that don't make sense to you because his plan is so much bigger. He is seeing so much more than we even have the remote capability of seeing. And it just takes us being faithful to his plan. But there is that, like Blair said that at the end too, it's that commitment, right? It's that like, okay, God, use me. If we allow God to work through us, if we allow ourselves to let him work in us in ways that don't make sense, then his plan can come out. And I don't know about you, but I don't want to stand before Jesus and him say, I wanted you to do this because you would have done this and this and this, and you would have touched him and her and them, and because I don't want to stand before Jesus and say, yeah, I'm sorry, I was selfish. I'm sorry, that didn't make sense to me. But it's difficult, it's tough, because I don't want to change the 8th poopy diaper today. Right? Like we all have that. There's just things that drive us nuts and we just get sick of it. But man, what if God is using that for something down the road in your life that can reach somebody else? And what if, because you're being selfish and because you're not putting your all into it and you're being stubborn, what if somebody misses some truth? What if somebody misses a touch with Jesus that could have saved their life? I don't want to be a reason for that. I hope you don't either. And it's not just he said it up here, God, yes, use me. And yes, you need to make that commitment, but you also need to make that commitment as soon as you walk out of this building. And you need to make that commitment again in the morning, and again the next morning, and again the next morning, and again the next morning. It's not just a one-time thing. This is a daily sacrifice to submit to his plan and his purpose because he has it figured out and we don't, no matter what we think, right? Do we agree with that? Amen? All right, Father, thank you. Thank you that you are so much better than us. Thank you for creating us and this world and our relationship in a way that you can use us, in a way that we can do your work because we have a relationship with you. Father, help us to submit. Help us to give in to our own desires. Help us to let go of our own plans and try to submit to yours. Father, I trust the plan you have for my life. At least I try to. There are times where it's really hard and it doesn't make sense and I just want to do my own thing, but keep helping me get back on the path. Father, I love you. Use me. Use us. Use us to change each other's lives. Use us to change this community. Use us to change our workplace. Use us, use us, use us, even if it doesn't make sense. In your name I pray, amen. All right, thanks for coming this morning, guys. We'll see you next week.